Hello, it's the 14th of October, and I have some music to review for you, which I will in this video. But as I often do, I want to give a disclaimer that this is not a service. I'm not being paid. This is my personal life, and so I'm bound to say some things personal or opinionated here that you may or may not like. Just letting you know. Along those lines, I had mentioned a few videos ago this that I was going to be working at the Hi-Fi house. That's still happening, but it's like complications, and so I don't know when the Hi-Fi house officially job will start. It's still in the works, so I haven't misspoken. Apparently just spoke too soon. Things are kind of tight over here for me, and so that I may talk about that at the end. Okay, but right now I want to review an act from Omaha that I played some shows with, and I told them that I can't afford to buy their CD, but I'd review it for them if they could let me have a copy, and they said sure. Pleasantly surprised, even after seeing them live. The live band that they have is not quite realizing what they put on record. The Hottman Sisters. This is a baby picture of them, and I don't think they're twins, but just like in the picture here, as adults, they come off like this on stage. This is Jessica, and she's the lead writer and lead person. And her sister, whose name I've forgotten already, it's on here, is not her foil, but it's like they're two separate entities working together to create it's kind of cool. It's what I like about when I play with my brother, and what I notice about family units is that there's this special or extra spark and this special tightness that you get because of being a family. There's a Midwest feel to this, there's a country feel to this, but there's also a progressive rock feel to this, which I find wonderful. It's like you think they're going to go this way every time, and they don't go that way every time. They harmonize really well, and I think they're musically trained. It sounds like it. A bunch of my friends are on the album here, and I really recommend this. Just purely good. Just good. It does, like I said, have a Midwestern feel. Original, but though, this is really darn original. I was surprised. I'll be sending a link to the Hottman Sisters so they can see this. Ladies, y'all really surprised me. I like seeing you live, but this is really good. And I'd love to play on your next record. That's how much I like this. I'd love to get a chance to play with you. Okay. Anthony Ferraro had given me the new Graaff Generator, and I hadn't listened to it when I showed it last. I've listened to most of this, and the thing to say about this Graaff Generator is that you cannot, or I say that you cannot think of this in terms of the Graaff Generator that we grew up with in the 70s. We're all elderly now. These guys are in their late 60s to 70s now. And that is reflected by not only the way the music goes, but what Peter Hammill is talking about. Peter Hammill's words have always been very important, which is what put me off of Graaff Generator in the first place, was I just wanted to focus on the music, which was, I could see was interesting and good from the beginning, but he was so verbal. Well, he even talks about that on one of the songs here, where it's like, have I been yammering about for no reason all these years? Have I been, just sounding like a fool? To me, what I get from this is it's a reflection on looking at life from this point of view of looking back. We, at this age, and I can say we because I'm 61, we're looking back as much as we're trying to live and be in the moment. Looking ahead is risky. And that's on here. The tone of the music, this is Graaff Generator. It's not a Peter Hammill solo album. Yeah, this is Graaff Generator. But it's of the now. If you want to try and compare this to the old, you'll be disappointed. If you have a sense of time and place and you hear it for what it really is, it's really brilliant. But it's kind of a slow and ponderous listen, okay? It's not a pleasant ride. It's a thinking album. It's an album to think to. I've listened to the Opeth a couple times now, and this is one of my favorite bands, okay? I don't know that Michael Ackerfeld and I are really very similar as people. I wonder if we would get along. I'd like to think that we would. I think it would be contentious. And I think that fits into the way that he does Opeth. It's like it's my way or the highway, which is kind of how Michael works from observing him. To his benefit, because he has strong ideas and a strong musical identity. And he started with black metal and he's moved on. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. Since I spoke to you folks, a label out of Chicago sent me 3 records. I think the fellow's name is Kaplan, who runs the label. And he had sent me a message saying he wanted to send me some music, thinking I might like it. And he was right. Let me show you and talk about what he sent me. It's right here. Okay, he sent me the name. The name of the label is Hausu Mountain. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Hausu Mountain Records. There's one more here. There it is. Okay. Out of Chicago, kind of an avant-garde psychedelic label that I had heard of before, but didn't have anything on the label. The label interests me. I actually am going to send them some stuff. I'm interested. Maybe they're interested. Maybe I can get them interested in what I'm doing, particularly with Chemicals. Chemicals has a big show tonight here in Omaha with C.J. Mills. We're both up for artist. C.J. Mills' band is up for Artist of the Year, and Chemicals is up for New Artist of the Year. Looking forward to the show tonight. Okay. So, I investigated a little bit, but I can't speak real knowledgeably about these artists. But the label is Hausu Mountain. Here it is, Hausu Mountain. And the first record that I'll review is by Flesh Eater. Rip Chrysalis is the name of this album. Came out last year, but the vinyl pressing just was released this year, 2016. Hausu Mountain. Female artist, real good, real imaginative. She comes off, she's using electronics, her voice, regular instrumentation, found sounds. She comes off, if you like stuff like Holly Herndon, 100 Waters, even Regina Spektor, or she's very good. This is imaginative. The cover really doesn't give much of an indication except that it's like, you have to wonder, what is this like? This is really, really good. Real good. Of the 3 records they sent me, 2 I really like and 1 I have to kind of get to, and I'll show that one last, okay? This next one is a duo, Grasshopper, Dark Sabbath, Symbols of Evil. And it's 2 people using trumpets and electronics to create these scraping, shrieking, very intense drone pieces. These are so intense and so good that it works at both 45 and 33 RPM. I'm telling you, this is very, very good. Grasshopper. Kind of dark, like the title, but really intense. And much of the time you can't tell if you're listening to a trumpet or electronics, you're not sure. I love stuff like this. This is very good. The third one I have to listen to some more because it sounds experimental. Sounds like these guys try some things. Maybe they're not always successful, but that's on my first couple of listens. Mothcock, I think is the name of the band. Formologue, it's either Formologue or Mothcock is the name of the band. And it's kind of a weird psychedelic cover, which is fitting of what's on the record. I haven't got all the way through it, so what they're attempting to do hasn't come in clear yet. It sounds like there's a certain amount of messing around, looking for something to happen. But like I said, I got to come back to it, okay? I want to thank Hausu Mountain for sending me the records. I like this label. Quite frankly, I can imagine hearing some of my music or Chemicals on this label. You know, Chemicals is putting together our rehearsal space with some other musicians who have gone in on the space, and we're turning it into a small studio. And we'll start recording next week. Just right quick, one of the things going on with me right now is that times are kind of tough right now. October is the month of the year when my car taxes and insurance come due. And I always try to be ready, and I'm not ready this year because, and I'm going to say it on camera, because the job that I took with that Chinese company has fallen apart. I hope the guy that helped me get the job through watching me sees this. I'm not going to say anyone's name, but they asked me to do an extra job for them, which I thought I could do, and then when they started to send the stuff to me, it was like overwhelming, and it got to be too big. I had to rent a warehouse for them to finish the job. I finished the job just as they described, sent everything back. They still haven't paid me. And so consequently, I'm sitting on pins and needles because I'm making it day to day on the money I'm making off of gigs. But I need that payment for that job so they don't turn me off, so they don't turn my cable bill off and my electricity. And I've sent several letters to the company. It's like, I finished the job. It's been almost a month now. Would you please pay me? I've acted honorably. What about you? Okay? That's bugging me, okay, if you want to know. Sometimes people say that when they watch me, they can tell that I'm angry or something's wrong. I'm not angry. I'm under stress because I don't have money to make it that I've made. This money is owed to me. And part of my other plan was I was hoping that I would dovetail from that into the Hi-Fi House, but because of some hang-ups with Hi-Fi House, they're not ready to hire me yet. So I'm in a tight space. That's what's going on with me. That's all right. Whether you want to know or not, like I said, this is my channel. Since my last video, some other thoughts I've had that I can remember to share is, yes, on this channel I don't talk a lot about mainstream music or necessarily quote-unquote black music because I'm a human being. I'm a real person. I'm not a stereotype. And I get to talk about what I'm really interested in, okay? I don't feel obligated to live up to anyone else's idea of what I'm supposed to be as a person. I've struggled against it all my life. I still struggle against it now. Yeah, I just said it, but it's a struggle because people have these unrealistic and in my opinion, unhealthy expectations of you to represent. Along those lines, it was brought to my attention among people who have died recently. Bobby Hutcherson, who I love, his music, I got a couple of his albums, but Kashif, a producer, singer, writer who I knew little about because I don't follow lovers rock and booty call music. I wrote recently on Facebook about it. You know, I really do live alone and stay alone for a lot of reasons because I've just had really a lot of traumatic experiences trying to be with people of either sex. It's just it's a challenge. And that's why I'm willing to admit I'm a nerd or Asperger's or some kind of shit, because there comes a point where it's like, I don't even want to be bothered. Just leave me alone. I can deal with my own mind. Dealing with two people's minds and someone, especially this whole idea that you're supposed to care about what the other person thinks. Well, to the point that it disrupts your own life. That's been my experience. But anyway, that comes off of saying that I watched a documentary about Kashif and became aware of his legacy and what he's done. And much respect to him. Sorry that he passed at his age. He could have lived a lot longer. And influential musician who's lived quite a life. So rest in peace, Kashif. We're losing people all the time. We're just at that age. Something else in the news that I'll bring up, is it still here, is that yesterday the big news in America was how, for the first time, a songwriter has won the Nobel Prize for Literature, I believe that's right. Mr. Bob Dylan. Comes as no surprise to me. No surprise at all to me for a number of reasons. One being that Bob Dylan, at his age, they better do it now while they can. The way that Dylan shook up the world, even though he admitted from the beginning, I am not what you say I am, and it's a lot to live up to. His music, this is my favorite Dylan album, Blonde on Blonde. It's slightly beat, but it's an original pressing, and it's an original 2-eye. It's not a repress. It's a 1966 pressing. I got this from the person who bought it. But Bob Dylan's influence and the power of his words, he has written some really intense stuff that all kinds of people can relate to and feel like it was written for them. And I honor that. You know, when Conor Oberst from Omaha first came out and got recognized, they talked about him being the next Dylan, which is quite a heady praise to be given to someone. It just shows that, again, Conor is good at being very naked, at expressing himself through his words. And there's a similarity to what Bob Dylan laid down in the beginning of his career. So I wanted to share those things. I could show more records, but I want to stop here. I will acknowledge you, Henry. I know that these videos are important to you, but please hear what I'm saying. Right now, life is kind of tough over here, and I'm supposed to have a job, but it just hasn't started yet. I finished a job, but I haven't gotten paid for it yet, so I'm stressed because my bank account is empty. Along those lines, someone had mentioned to me that they wanted to know how to buy my records. I sent them the link, but I've gotten no orders yet. I could use some orders. I have about 4 titles still available. Matter of fact, I have a brand new digital album called Sketchbook, and it's on Bandcamp. And what it is it's like going back and looking at some of the stuff I've been writing and listening to that for some reason I didn't release but have put together on this because I like it so much. The feedback I'm getting so far from the folks that are listening to it and buying it is that they think this is some of the best stuff I've ever done. And isn't that interesting that this is the leftovers from stuff I did release, thinking this wasn't... You can never tell. When I listen to it as an album, which I've done several times now, it is very pleasing. I always get this complaint that somebody wishes there were real drums on the record, and I told that person on Facebook, well, this music wouldn't exist at all if I had to go through the trouble and expense of getting drums and recording them. This music exists because I finally got the software to where I could work in the MIDI domain and create like this. The drums sound fine. They do sound fine. Come on. It's like when people get hung up about that 80s production sound, it's like, get past it. Listen to the whole picture. If it's a good idea, it's a good idea, you know. There are some bands whose drum sound with real drums I don't like, but I still like what they're doing. The band Levitation comes to mind right away. So look at the whole picture. Look at the whole picture. Last thing I'll say is, man, I wish we'll be glad when this election, well, actually, the election is coming up, but the political madness won't stop. One of the things that has got things so crazy now is how the media started doing this a couple elections ago. It probably started before Obama, but it really got insane with Obama, where as soon as the election is done, they're talking about the next one 4 years later. And they're going to do that this time. The American public really could use a break from Chump and Clifton. It's insane. That's all we hear is their names and their voices. And it's like an assault on the senses. And both of these people are worthless. I wouldn't have either of these people as personal friends. And that does have to do with whether or not they're qualified to be in the office of the president. Can't even be my friend. It doesn't have anything to do with your qualification. It does have a lot to do with your qualifications as a human being. But they're not going to stop. They're going to be... They'll finish with this and they'll start the madness for the next 4 years. It's really wrong. We're in insane times, and people in the mainstream sound utterly sick to me.
Really great political skill. He's found
Great political skill at the expense of the entire planet. You people suck. Yeah, I usually try to end with a smile. There it is. But you're hearing what's really going on. This world is just a hell in a handbasket right about now. No thanks to leaders who are so selfishly focused on what they want. And they lie to us constantly. They're not going to do anything for the common man except destroy us. Isn't that a pleasant thought to end the video? And I'm going to do it because that's where my thoughts are at today. Be well in spite of it all.